Growing up, we learn a lot. We learn rights, we learn wrongs, and we learn how to adapt to our world. We learn knowledge and get overloaded with facts. But we all learn at a different pace. How do we show what we learned? How do we flex our knowledge to others? And what happens when that knowledge isn't about expression, but about performance? Let's take a look at when learning becomes performance. Class is in session. Lessons Reconsidered is a reflective podcast about the lessons we think we've learned and what starts to change when we take another look. I'm the Teach. On this episode, we're going to look at when learning is made into a performance, when our knowledge becomes less about what we know and more about how it is displayed to everyone. Let's start with an assumption I once held. All my life, I believed learning meant knowing, and knowing meant being able to show it, to explain it, to demonstrate it, to make it as clear as possible to someone else. That's how I measured it. Even today, it seems most important to me to show others that I know something. It doesn't become real to me unless I know that others know that I know. Yes, I understand that's a bit complicated. So here is what I mean. Having knowledge seems useless unless you are displaying it in some way. When others are aware that you know something, or in general, know things, there is extreme value in that. There is capital in being seen as knowledgeable. What I mean by knowledge is how intelligent, insightful, or intuitive you are. You are seen as informed about the world. It helps to create an image that you are well rounded and deep. That made sense to me because in many spaces, learning is visible. In school, you raise your hand, you give the answer, you explain, you show your knowledge, and that gets reinforced. You get acknowledged, you get validated. So learning started to feel like something you would perform. It was your way of showing knowledge to the world. It starts in the classroom and moves with you wherever you go. Your knowledge becomes visible and you get credited for it. Having knowledge is an admirable trait. You are considered wise, studious, or for some, knowledge is goddamn sexy. Shout out to my intellectuals. I see you. Many people use their knowledge to climb the social ladder. However, there is a fine line between showcasing your knowledge and coming across as something much more insufferable, a know it all. The type of person who puts on a show that people feel they cannot approach them or have a conversation of substance with them. How do you talk to someone who thinks, or at least comes across, like they know everything? Everyone in this world wants to feel knowledgeable. They want to feel like they are adding something to a conversation. They for sure do not want to feel less than after speaking with someone. Conversation should feel good for all people involved. And how can you connect with someone who thinks they are the smartest person in the room? What happens when people are afraid to share their opinions, thoughts, or knowledge? What happens when you become the insufferable know it all? When I was younger, I used to be dismissed from school, and I would find people to talk about my day. There was interest in hearing about my day, and it felt great to discuss what I learned. But as I got older, I didn't have that same space as I used to. or there wasn't as much interest in what went on in my day. I got accustomed to sharing what I learned. It became important to me to share the knowledge I was acquiring. I wanted to keep it going, but I didn't have a space to express whatever I've learned. I started to find people who were just uninterested. I needed to express myself and show off this knowledge, but it kept falling on deaf ears. I started to look past the fact that people weren't listening, and I still expressed myself. This became a pattern. I would continue throughout my life to try to share the knowledge I possessed, whether they were interested in hearing it or not. I am sure there are many people in my life, whether they admit it or not, who feel like I'm a know it all. I am unsure how many potential lovers or new friends I turned off with my tendency to showcase my knowledge. I can admit I have tried to put on a performance of my knowledge. I wanted to be liked and seen as favorable for all that I have learned. On the flip side, I felt cursed with a burden of knowledge. I know how pretentious that sounds, but hear me out. Knowing stuff and not being able to share it can feel painful internally. It is like you are bursting at the seams. It can feel like torture. Everywhere we look, we are seeing people having the chance to show off what they know. On news networks, anchors and guests debate the latest hot button political issues. An expert might share their knowledge in a TED Talk, or various guest lecturers fill college campuses and local community centers everywhere. Not only do they get to showcase their knowledge, they are also getting recognition for it. They are getting paid for it. They are getting praise. There was a correlation and direct benefit to showcasing your knowledge. I felt at times like I was sitting on wealth, and the only way I could claim it was to express it. I needed to put on a performance of my knowledge to get what I thought I deserved. What I've noticed now is the effect that showcasing our knowledge eliminates real connection. It meant that we aren't having a fluid conversation with others. We are having a monologue where we are just showcasing everything we know. It takes many people, or at least two, to have a conversation. But if the conversation doesn't make space for others, it is another way we create distance from the people around us. When we want to build bridges, we have to look at all the ways we might be dismantling the foundation. Sometimes I question whether I'm learning something because I'm interested or because I want to be more knowledgeable than others. I know that knowledge is power, but we must all ask ourselves, especially in this information age, what is our motivation? What are we trying to accomplish? And if it is for possible selfish reasons, where is the line between the expression of knowledge and making a performance of it? What are the reasons why we are expressing knowledge in the ways that we do? I don't think I figured that out yet. I'm still sitting with that. That's where I'll leave it for now. I wanted to add some reflection questions here at the end for you to ask yourself and follow up on. I hope that it gives you deeper insight into how you relate and engage with this topic. These are questions I am pondering myself. Reflection questions. Where in your life do you feel the need to prove what you know? When does sharing knowledge help you feel connected? When does it become a performance? Have you ever used your knowledge to feel seen, valued, or accepted? What would it look like to let learning change you quietly before needing anyone else to notice? One thing I want to start is reflecting at the end of an episode. Everything, for the most part, that we saw or that we've heard earlier was basically a script that I came up with, and everything was deliberately chosen, right? It was curated, it was primed to be presented here. But I think the heart of the podcast is also to reflect. And I want to use some time at the end to really reflect on the episode, the topic, and just speak unfiltered about what, I just expressed. Um, the first thing that comes to mind for me is it's hard to be honest about how you're using knowledge, right? Or how you're trying to showcase it, or the secret or not so secret, hidden ways in which we're trying to present ourselves, right? A lot of times, and it might relate to you in this way, it may not, but a lot of times the connection is we use anything we can, any tool at our disposal to make connections with people. We also don't realize that those tools, if used incorrectly, if overused, if abused, they create this distance. They separate, they completely shatter what we're trying to accomplish. And this is why it's very important to reflect. This is also why it's important to reconsider the lessons that we have learned. Life has taught us many things, life has showed us many things. We have been so comfortable sharing, expressing, um, learning. And even though some things may not work for us, we continue to do it. We continue to try because we think, sometimes we'll blame something else or some reason, but we never really do the work to really see that it could be us. And that's part of what this podcast series is about. And I'm going to be honest with you, just being able to just say all of this without it being scripted and put it out in the world is scary. But I think that I want to create a space for you or whomever it might be useful in order to be this unfiltered. And if I'm very, curated up, if I'm very watch what I say and be very specific in it, that's not real reflection. I want to present the content or the topic a certain way, and I still could do that. But I also should find some time at the end to really reflect about the episode, about, how it relates to me outside of the persona that I'm showing. And this is episode 3 of hopefully many, many episodes. And I need to establish this identity. I'm going to try new things. Some things will work, some things won't work. But what I would really like from you is to share with me what you got. How did it feel? How did it land for you? What reactions, what reflections? I would love to hear about your own stories. I share little anecdotes from my life and my experiences. What are your anecdotes? Where are you coming from? You may say, hey, I understand. You may say, you're completely wrong and I disagree. And I would welcome that discourse. So reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Again, thank you for taking the time out of your day, night, whatever, whenever you're listening to this to help. It's really good to know that, your words aren't just falling on deaf ears or you're speaking into the void. Um, but let me know what you get from it. And yes, thank you for that. And I just want to say, and I'm trying to coin this, One of my sayings I'm trying to work in is there is power in the pause. If this content spoke to you in any way, I would love to hear about it. Please reach out at Lessons Reconsidered on Instagram, Facebook, Substack, and YouTube. There will be a Substack before each episode that dives deeper into a topic. You can also reach the podcast by email at lessonsreconsidered@gmail.com. There will be a link tree in the description for you depending on the platform you have found this podcast. I would like to thank the incredible Matt Mogson for the use of our intro and outro song, Break Down Those Walls. You can find this and other incredible music by Matt Mogson on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, and Apple Music. Thank you for taking the time to revisit old lessons with me, and I hope it gives you more insight into the lessons that have helped shape who you are. I look forward to exploring more with you on the next episode.
Tear down those walls, break down those barriers. Life is just beginning for you. No greater power in this world.